Hello.
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 Good to see you. It's getting a little
No.
echoey with this. I'm going to mute folks now. There we go. All right, beautiful. I thought I thought maybe people were going to prefer politics tonight, but I guess you can watch later. One moment. Okay. All right, let me get this set up here. First of all, let's check out the two cameras. That's camera number one. Oh, camera number two is plugged in. So that you can have a view of the visualizations. That looks a little weird. Put it a little closer. I think that's a little better. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to get the live stream going. All right, I think we're good. All right, wonderful to see everybody. Welcome to session number 3 of 32 Paths of Presence. So what I'd like to do first is go through the visualizations of the positions of the different spheros, just to make sure that we're all clear with that and see if anybody has any questions or confused about any of that. So I'm going to run through them fairly quickly, and it's going to be visual, like I'm going to point to different places in space. But I'll also try to describe it verbally, but the verbal description won't be as precise as seeing it in space. Okay, so I'm going to put the other camera on. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit. I think it'll be okay. I'm gonna put it back. There we go. Okay, so the first sphera that we're visualizing is Keter at the crown of the head. And then we also visualize Keter a few feet above the head. The next sphera we visualize is Malchut below the feet. And the second Malchut is down below that, probably underneath the floor, down in the earth a little bit. Okay. The next sphera we visualize is Chokhmah in the right brain. And then we also visualize the second Chokhmah to my right and back, and to your right and back. We all do it from our own perspective, at shoulder level. The next one is Bina at the left brain, and we're visualizing the second Bina behind us to the left shoulder level. After that, we visualize Da'at, which is really the the invisible 11th sphera that just represents connecting the upper with the lower. Next, we visualize Chesed at the right shoulder. And we visualize the second Chesed in front and to the right at shoulder level. Okay, the next one is Gevura on the left shoulder, and the second Gevura is in front to the left at shoulder level. When we visualize Chesed, we are also going to visualize Tiferet in the heart, but we're not visualizing Tiferet outside the body yet. The next sphera, which let's see if you can see, they're a little better now. The next sphera is at the right hip, and that is the sphera of Netzach at the right hip. Then we also visualize Netzach front and right at hip level. The next one is Hod at the left hip, and the second Hod is visualized front and left at hip level. Next, we visualize Yesod in the body, in the lower belly. And we also visualize the second Yesod behind us on the left. And now we bring in the visualization of Tiferet, which is the heart sphera, on back right. That completes the entire 2 interlocking pyramids, 4 sphirot below, and they are bridged by by the lines that connect them to Keter, creating a big pyramid that we are inside. So if you can have a sense of that. And the other pyramid are the 4 sphirot of Chesed and Gevura and Chochmah and Bina, connecting down with 4 lines to the Malchut below our bodies. Okay, so now let's check and see if anybody has any questions with that visualization. Okay, good. Seems like pretty clear.
Wait,
Yes.
you said that there was one, was that Hod that connects upper and the lower? But there's not a place for that one?
I know what you're talking about. That's the sphera called Da'at,
Oh, Da'at, right.
or Das in Ashkenazic Hebrew.
Yeah.
And so that one is not counted in the counting of the 10 sphirot. It's kind of an 11th sphera.
It doesn't have like a physical home anywhere in space?
Well, right. It does not have a home outside our bodies. It only has the home in the mouth, neck area.
Oh, okay.
So after we do Chochmah and Bina, we bring palms together, which is physically representing the coming together of opposites and representing the upper and the lower. And you can bring awareness to this part of your body. And that's the sphere of Dot. But we don't project Dot into the pyramids because there are only 10 sphirot in the structure that we're visualizing outside our body of the 2 interlocking pyramids.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gabrielle.
Rev Brian,
Yes,
you can hear me, huh?
I can.
So I'm having a challenge with Tiferet, just
Okay.
feeling organized about it. So I understand that the first part is connected with Chesed,
Yeah,
right?
well,
The first mention of Tiferet.
that's right.
I just don't have a flow with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tiferet again with Yesod, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
Well-
those are pieces that I haven't quite felt flowy with.
Yeah. Well, one thing that might help with that is that there's a connection in theme between Chesed and Tiferet. Really, Chesed and Gevura and Tiferet are all, in a certain way, rooted in Chesed. They're all rooted in that kavanah of love. But the Gevura is the necessary balancing or constraining part so that the love doesn't become, you know, smothering someone with love or loving so much that you're not being taking care. Sometimes you have to say no in order to love, that kind of thing. And Tiferet is the balance of those two things. But really, as many of the teachings say, Chesed is the essence of all of them. So even though they're pictured as three separate things, Chesed really has a superior kind of root position in that. So there's that connection between Chesed and Tiferet. The heart, also the heart is associated with love, and yet Chesed, which is the actual meaning of loving kindness, is on the right side. But Tiferet and Yesod are also very much connected because they are both central column sphirot. So if we imagine the sphirot on the right and the sphirot on the left, and then there's a central column, the right and left have the symbolism of opposites, of yin yang, giving, receiving, male, female, expansive, contractive, all that stuff. And the middle is the balance. The middle is more really where we want to be, which is why we visualize it in the center of our own being. And Tiferet and Yesod are really two different manifestations of the same kind of thing. Yesod means foundation, but the whole central pillar, in a sense, is kind of like a foundation too, because it's the thing that holds the whole thing together. So I don't know if that helps, but the other part of it, of course, is that I imagine for many people it probably doesn't feel very flowy at all, especially for the folks who haven't done it before. You've been doing it for a while, but it might take some time working with it. It will take time working with it before it feels comfortable.
That does help to think of the central pillar for those two.
Yeah.
Something which isn't directly related to where they are, but just for my morning practice, I'm used to doing the letters that we've done with the different Sefirot. And should I not try to do that at the same time? I do it for a while and it fits. And then when I get to Hamesh, I don't quite know where to, or when I get to, so I get a little confused and just wonder, maybe not here, but at some point, if you can guide those of us that are doing the other version or were.
Well, you're in luck because tonight we're going to jump into adding the letters. So, so we're going to add the first 10 letters. We're going to be doing them in the next, we're going to get the whole thing unified. But also, if you want to keep the letters for the entire thing, you can always just keep them in the same place that they were from before. It's not that different. It's just that we're going to add the dimension of the lines that connect the pyramids together, which is what I want to do next. So this next piece is going to be like what we just did, but just now we were focusing on the position of the sphirot in and outside the body. This next thing we're going to do is also trying to get in our minds clear different pieces of the visualization without any meaning or anything, just trying to focus on the visualization part. So I'm going to explain it verbally and visually best I can and see if you can follow along with me, okay? Okay. So first of all, we have Keter above, two Keters above, two Malchuts below, and I want you to visualize the line that connects the very top Keter with the very bottom Malchut. So this is very simple. It's just a line from above the head all the way down into the earth. And that's the first line that we're going to be visualizing. Okay, number 2. Bring to mind the sphera of Chesed, which is in front of you and to the right at shoulder level. You got that? In front of you to your right at shoulder level. I'm going to put on the other camera. Okay. Over here in front of you to the right at shoulder level. And then imagine Netzach, which is right underneath it. So it's at your right in front, but at hip level. Okay? And then imagine the line that connects those two sphirot. Okay, so it's a vertical line on your right in front. Now I'm going to tell you what letter that's going to be. You don't have to memorize it now at all, but that's the letter bet. Okay, and the one that's in the center column coming from above to below is the letter Aleph. Okay, the next line I want you to visualize is beginning at Chokhmah, which is behind you at shoulder level, behind you on the right at shoulder level. And it's going to connect down to Tiferet, which is behind you on the right at hip level. Okay? So this line that connects those two sefirot is Gimel. Okay, next. On the other side, on your left side, connecting Bina behind left shoulder level with Yesod, which is behind left hip level. And see that line back there, a vertical line behind you on the left. Okay, that is the letter Dalet. Okay, next we're going to do the first of the diagonal lines. These are actual pyramid lines. The first one we'll do is we're returning back to Chesed, which is front right. And it's going to be the line that connects Chesed front right all the way down to Malchut, which is in the center below your feet. So this diagonal line here is the letter He. Okay. The next one is beginning at Gevurah on your left. And if it's helpful, it's good to, you can do the motions as I'm doing them too, just to kind of get a sense of it. So on your left, starting at Gevurah, and then diagonally coming down to Malchut below your body. That's the next line we'll be visualizing. That's the letter Vav. Okay. All right. The next line is beginning at Keter. So this is the other pyramid, the one that's pointing up. The line that connects Keter above to Netzach, which is right front hip level. Right front hip level. This big side of a triangle. That's the letter Zion. Next. And it's more, by the way, it's not so important to remember or write down the letters right now because I'm going to give all that to you, but it's more important to get the feeling of the visualization in yourself. Okay, so the next one is beginning at Keter and is going to come down diagonally to Hod, which is front left hip level. So the last two lines we did are both creating two sides of a triangle that are in front of you that start on the top of your head and then branch out in front of you. Nice. Okay. The next one, oh, and that is the letter Chet, if I didn't say that. The next one we're going to visualize is the line that connects once again above your head, Keter, to the sefira of Yesod behind you on the left hip level. That's the next line. Keter to behind you left at hip level. And we are going to do just one more line today. This will not at all complete all of the lines that are possible, but we're only doing the first 10 letters today. So the final one is beginning at Chokhmah, which is behind you on the right, shoulder level, and it connects down to Malchut below your feet. So this diagonal line from right behind shoulder level down below your feet. And we'll go through these again in the actual practice, but I just wanted to give you a preview of it before we do it in the meditation to see if everybody's got it. So does anybody have any questions about what we just did?
I'm wondering if the placement of the letters was an
Yeah.
adaptation that you did from maybe other systems and has meaning in it, having to do with the Sephirot that are being connected and the meaning
Yes.
of the letter?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Where are you, if you're going to visualize the letters themselves, then where do you visualize it along that line? That's the question, right? So, oh, is that not the question?
No, that's not the question, but it's an interesting question. What I was asking was the origin of how it is that each letter is connected to a particular line. Is it from a system that you took from someone else, or is it your system? And was it conceived in order to, because of the themes of the different Sephirot and in coordination with the theme of the letter?
Yes. So the connection between the Sphirot, the way the attributions work with the letters and the Sphirot is my own. It's a new development. It's a new system. But the reason why each of the letters are connected with the particular two Sphirot has to do with the meanings of the letters and the meanings of the Sphirot. So, so it kind of developed over a period of time of contemplating them and making them work together, which is something that I've kind of been obsessed with since I was like 8 years old. So I don't recommend it. But I've seen so many other systems that others have done that didn't really make sense to me. And also other versions of it that aren't systemized. So there's one thing to remember about Kabbalah is that it's not at all a single system. There are many different versions of it, and the earliest versions of it are almost anti-systematic. Like they're more fluid and poetic, and so it's this type of, if we want to call it mysticism, I'm not sure if that's exactly the right word, but this type of practice is somewhere between art and self-construction. So we're using this, kind of relates to what Gabrielle was asking last week too about, are the Sphirot already there? All of these are realities that are present in our being, but I don't want to be too dogmatic about where they are in your body and how they connect. This is one way of connecting them. This is a way of building an inner structure in order to have greater access to the actual energies of all of the Sphirot and letters, because we keep practicing them and repeating them over and over again and visualize them and connecting with them in the petri dish or in the temple of daily practice. Okay, and I think Richard had something. Yeah.
Yes. Did we skip the letter Hey, or did I just miss it?
Oh, I did say the letter Hey. So the letter Hey is the line that connects Chesed, which is front right, with Malchut beneath your body. So it's the diagonal line there, and it's the first diagonal line we did. Okay, that reminds me though, thank you, Richard, that reminds me of something I forgot to say, which is there are 3 of the letters that we are going to visualize in the body as well. Those are the letters of the Tetragrammaton, the divine name. So the first letter we come to is Hey. So we visualize the Hey line, and then we also visualize the Hey in the chest. So it's actually the top of the Hey is the shoulders, the arms of the Hey are your arms, and it's framing your chest. Then next comes Vav, and Vav is the spine. So from your neck down into your pelvis, that's the Vav, but also emphasizing the belly. And the final letter that we come to is Yud, and that's the last one we're going to do for today, is the letter Yud, which we visualize in the head. So we're also visualizing it over here as the line connecting Chokhmah and Malchut, but then we will bring attention to visualizing it in the head. So we build the Yud and the Hey and the Vav in the body as well. All right.
The way you just drew the hay, I usually do it at one shoulder or the other, so there's a gap between my hands, and then we're on the other side. But you did it.
Oh, there is a gap. Yeah, the image of the hay. I visualize the gap at the left side of my body. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, good. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to introduce you to the verses that we will use for the first 10 Hebrew letters. And a good bunch of you know these verses already. But what I'll do is the goal here is, oh, Ruth has her hand up. Ruth, did you want to say something?
Okay, I had done. Okay. Oh, I was just going to ask. I'm guessing it's Tet that goes. I didn't hear the letter with Keter above
Yeah.
to Yesod.
Yeah. Did I not say Tet? Did I miss?
Yeah, you
that?
didn't. You
Oh,
didn't.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're right. I said the line, but I didn't say it was Tet.
Right.
So that's correct. That's the 9th letter. That second to last one we did, which is the line from Keter to Yesod, and that will be Tet. That's right.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like we have a few more questions. Okay, Fran.
Yeah, I'm concerned about Yesod being off the center line.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is counterintuitive for me.
Yes, there are two sphirot that we're visualizing off the center line, which is Yesod and Tiferet. And so the idea here, though, is that the structure we're visualizing around our bodies doesn't really have a central line because it's built around our body. So it's a projection of the sphirot within the body, which does have a center line, out into something that's around us. So, well, with the exception, I guess, of Keter and Malchut, which actually are in almost the same place as they are in the central line. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that because we're used to visualizing it along the center line. Well, one thing I can offer for that is, well, two things I'll offer for that. One is that the back, like the things that are behind us, are generally have the symbolism of being behind being the supportive structure of the rest of the sphirot and letters and so on. So as opposed to the front ones, which are more the outward expression, the back ones are more like the back end, the supporting structure of things. So the central pillar also has that symbolism. And so the one thing which we're not going to do today, but is part of that symbolism that I'll mention, is the letter Samech. The letter Samech literally means support. And that Samech is going to be connecting Yesod and Tiferet, both of which as the heart and the lower organs, which are essential for life, all have that symbolism of being the structure which allows all the other things to exist. So I hope that helps. But like I said, some of these ways of thinking are different. So I just say give it a chance, work with it and see if it works for you. Okay, and Mark?
Hi, could you comment, maybe you already have it, I didn't hear it, but to comment on the either the order starting with Aleph, is there some kind of spiritual significance of doing it in this particular order? And are the first 10 more important because they or not 10 as a whole, but I mean, are the first 1, 2, and 3, if they're more important than 7, 8, and 9? I mean,
Well, they're just in symbolically, the first 10 letters are somewhat associated with the first 10 sphirot. So it was just a way of dividing up the practice. Like the other 22 letters are going to correspond to the Shaman Six Directions practice, which, by the way, if anybody hasn't taken that course yet, that's very important to get that before we start putting it in here, or it'll be very confusing. So I hope folks are accessing that. If you're confused about how to access, there's a few different ways, but the simplest way is just to go to the Ruach Neshama portal when you log into the website, and you'll see the level 2 course there. It's only 4 lessons, so less than an hour each. So I believe that we're going to bring in the Shaman Six Directions. We're going to bring that in not next week, but the week after. So you have a little time to do it, but it'd be really good to be comfortable with that before we start putting it into here.
Very, very helpful to hear that the first 10 are the sphirot in the body.
Yeah, exactly. They're all connected with the sphirot of those. You know, the only one that isn't really, that's a little out of that order is the letter bet, which we're visualizing over here. As I said, there's a synthesis of 2 different systems going on, 2 different numbering systems, Sefer Yetzirah and Zohar, and so that's why there's a little way to connect them. But yes, that's generally how they work. Okay, let's jump into the verses. So what I'd like to do is tonight, I just want to say that in the course of, this is the beginning of a course of study. So for folks who want to continue with this practice after we're done learning it, it's good to stay in the group and practice it, not just because it's good to practice together, but also because we continue going deeper into the meanings of the Hebrew letters over time. So we're going to do a little taste of the meanings of the Hebrew letters tonight, and we're going to learn the verses, but we're not going to talk too much about them because we're doing it more in a practical sense. So I'm going to put on the screen the Ashrei. This is Ashrei. This is Psalm 145. This beginning piece will eventually incorporate, but we're not going to do that right now. Right now we're going to do, you'll see that each of these verses, which is Psalm 145, begins with one of the Hebrew letters, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, and so on, all the way to Yud, and that's as far as we'll get. Later on we'll do the rest of them when we do the other Hebrew letters. And what I'll do is I'll say each of the verses, and then I'll say it again so that you can say it with me. Again, just do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's something that comes over time. So the first verse, the letter Aleph, has the symbolism of deliberately opening to the full spectrum of experience. That means joy and bitterness, pleasure and pain, closeness and alienation, security and fear, all the opposite spectrums of experience. The Aleph practice is to open to your experience as it is, to be the oneness behind which the multiplicity of experiences arise. That's the meaning of Aleph we're working with. I'm going to chant the verse. Aro mimcha Elohai hamelech va'avarecha shimcha leolam va'ed. Let's say it together. Aro mimcha Elohai hamelech va'avarecha shimcha leolam va'ed. The letter Bet means by it. It has to do with hospitality, recognizing the divine in all things, which is why it's associated with Malchut, but particularly with the kavanah of welcoming in the divine, of welcoming God, of being a space of hospitality. It's really about hospitality on the deepest level. Bechol yom avarchecha va'ahalala shimcha leolam va'ed. Say it with me. Bechol yom avarchecha va'ahalala shimcha leolam va'ed. Letter Gimel. It means the completeness of the present moment. There's a quality of arrivedness, nothing needed, sufficiency, completeness. That's the quality of Gadol, which is inherent in Chokhmah, so it's associated with Chokhmah. Gadol Adonai umahulal me'od v'li gedulato en cheker. Chant with me. Gadol Adonai umahulal me'od v'li gedulato en cheker. Next is letter Dalet, which has to do with the recognition that everything we have, that all the goodness that is supporting us in this moment is coming to us from grace. There's such a tremendous amount of grace, and we are receiving that grace. Dor ledor yeshabach ma'asecha ugevorotecha yagidu. And with me, dor ledor yeshabach ma'asecha ugevorotecha yagidu. Letter He has to do with giving and self-expression associated with chesed. It's about expressing our uniqueness, whatever it is that that we are here to express as unique beings, offering it and then letting go of the fruits of the results, knowing that we're not ultimately in control. That acknowledging of not control is represented by the disconnected letter He. Hadar kevod hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Chant with me. Hadar kevod hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Next is letter Vav. Vav, which is associated with Gevura, is about watching reactivity within ourselves and enabling or being able to be highly conscious of our reactivity so as to not be controlled by it. The letter Vav is also the word and. As a prefix, Vav means and. So it's about saying yes and to things and not becoming reactive in our words and speech. And to do that, we have to be very hyper conscious inside ourselves, be aware of ourselves. And that's the letter Vav as our spine. Ve'ezuz norotecha yumeru ugedulatecha saparena. Together. Ve'ezuz norotecha yumeru ugedulatecha saparena. Next is Zion. Zion is the sword. It's a weapon. It has to do with cutting away distractions, cutting away whatever is leading you on the path that you are not choosing. In meditation, it's particularly about cutting through to whatever is our point of focus and just not getting sidetracked by this or that energy, thought, feeling, and so on that comes. And that takes a constant remembering, which is the word zecher, which means remembrance. Zecher rav tuvecha yabiu v'tzidkatecha yiranenu. Chant together. Zecher rav tuvecha yabiu v'tzidkatecha yiranenu. I'm pointing to the translit because I assume some people don't read Hebrew, but if you read Hebrew, it's better to read the Hebrew. Okay, letter Chet is next. Chet is the consciousness of hovering. It's hovering presence. The metaphor is that of the eagle feeding its eaglets. And when she feeds her eaglets, she doesn't come down over onto the eaglets. That would destroy them. And she doesn't fly away because then she can't feed them. So it's like this hovering quality. And it has the quality in our common situations, perhaps of listening to another person, of being present, of sticking with something without running away or jumping in to change something. And that's the word chen, which means grace. Chanun v'rachum Adonai erech apayim ugadal chesed. Let's chant together. Chanun v'rachum Adonai erech apayim ugadal chesed. Okay, letter tet, which begins the word tov, and it's also the word tov here, particularly referring to the hidden goodness in things. So when we like things and we appreciate things, that's a revealed goodness. But the hidden goodness is having in our minds that there is goodness that's not revealed yet in a certain thing. The most common example is when something is happening that we would judge as wrong or bad, but good things are going to come from it later. Again, it's associated with Yesod, which are the reproductive organs, which contain the potential for new life, but in a hidden way. And we also generally keep those organs covered, so there's that hidden quality to it. And tov is and that's what tov, or letter tet, is. It's the hidden goodness not yet revealed, but being conscious of it. Tov Adonai lako v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Chant together. Tov Adonai lako v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. And finally, for tonight is the letter Yud, the tiny, tiny letter, which is the number 10, also representing Malchut, which is the physical world, the world of time. And also it's associated with Chokhmah, so it's connecting Chokhmah with Malchut, which is the practice of just being simply present, presence in action, like when you're walking or just doing whatever simple with your body, not involving language, not involving thinking, but just simple movements. Like Tai Chi, for example, is a very Yud practice, or yoga, where we're just bringing consciousness to simple movement. That's the letter Yud. Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha yevarchucha. Chant with me. Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha yevarchucha. And that brings us through the 10 verses and the 10 letters that we will be using tonight. Okay, let's check and see if we have any brief questions before we put it all together. Okay, Mark, yes.
So I couldn't draw this as you were describing them because the geometry escapes me, but is there a particular shape to these 10?
I'm sorry, a shape to what?
The geometrical shape to these first 10? I know in the body they're the tree of life, but outside the body is the shape of these lines?
Well, all of the lines that we are going to be imagining are part of the two interlocking pyramid structures, but they're not all the lines, but they are most, or I didn't even say most, but there's some of them. They are most of the diagonal lines. Okay, we're still missing the Keter to Tiferet. We haven't done that one yet, but we've done all the other ones that are coming down. We haven't done this one over here from Bina to Malchut. So no, they're not making something specific just with the 10. We're in the process of building the whole structure, which will be the two interlocking pyramids plus the 4 vertical lines connecting the 4 upper and 4 lower sefirot. You know what? I'm going to show you something before we go into the practice. I think you'll appreciate. I forgot about this, that I have this. One moment. Almost there. Okay, here we go. All right, check this out, you guys. This is what we're visualizing. But it's not done yet. So this is a work in progress. I'm working with, I think I told you before, working with a 3D computer artist. This is going to actually be something that you can put on a virtual reality headset and get inside and look around and see them behind you and below you and everything. So you can be really lazy with your visualization. But and the colors aren't exact yet, you know, we're in process, but they're pretty much right. They're almost right. Here's Keter, here's Chesed and Gevura. This is Chochma and Bina, Netzach and Hod. Let's see, this really looks like Tiferet and Yesod. Yeah, that's correct actually. Tiferet, it's a little bit turned around, I guess. And then Malchut is on the bottom. So these colors here should be a little bit more differentiated. But anyway, it's a little taste of what's coming. Cool. All right. We ready to jump in? Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Okay, can you see Keter? Give me a thumbs up if you see the Aleph and Keter at the top. Okay, good. All right, so coming into a position, comfortable position where the spine is as straight as you can make it. Taking a few nice breaths to bring mind out of the stream of thinking and into present moment. Bringing consciousness into your senses. And taking your right hand, if you are comfortable doing so. You can also just do this mentally, but I like doing it kinesthetically. Bringing right hand to the top of your head and perceptualizing the Keter as a sphere of white light at the top of your head. And we'll just chant together, Achat. Achat Ruach Elohim Chaim. And then seeing the second Keter as a sphere of white light a few feet above. And chanting Hu. Hu Eloheinu Ein Od. Bringing to mind there's one reality and this is it. And now if you can, visualizing the letter Aleph above your head, between the two Keters, you'll always see the shape of the letter at the very top of the piece that we're on. Seeing the Aleph there, if you can't visualize it perfectly, don't worry. With the kavanah of just opening yourself to the full spectrum of experience, to joy and sorrow, knowing that you are infinitely vast. You don't have to be afraid of any feelings. That's the Aleph. And now bringing the hand down to your heart, visualizing a line of light coming from Keter, top Keter, all the way down through your body, down into the earth. Chanting Aromimcha. Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech Vavarecha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed. And seeing the light descend from your heart down through your body, manifesting as Malchut, a sphere of blue and earth color light below your feet, chanting Shtayim. Shtayim Ruach Me Ruach. And now extending your mind to see the second Malchut down below your feet, down into the earth. Recognizing the divine presence in all forms, in all shapes, in all beings. Emet. Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulato. And seeing the letter Bet line, a line of light in front of you and to the right, connecting Chesed and Netzach to your right, chanting Bechol Yom. Bechol Yom Avechecha V'Adala Shimcha Leolam Va'ed. And bringing right hand to your right skull, seeing Chochmah, sphera of dark blue-gray light, the watery sphera of Chochmah, Shalosh. Shalosh Mayim Meruach. And also seeing the second Chochmah as watery sphere of dark blue-gray light to your right and behind you, chanting L'Shem Yichud Kudsha Brichu, and seeing the Gimel vertical line of light coming down from Chochmah, connecting down to where Tiferet will be. Contemplating the fullness of being, the completeness of this moment as it is. Gadol. Gadol Adonai Mehulam Ma'od V'li Gadulato Ein Cheker. And bringing left hand to left skull, seeing Bina as a fiery sphere of yellow and green at your left brain. Arba. Arba Eshmei Mayim. And seeing the second Bina behind you to the left. Shoulder level. Ushechinte. Ushechinte. And seeing the Dalet line of light coming down from Bina, extending downward to where Yesod will be. Recognizing that all the blessing that we receive is all coming to us from grace. It's all just an unearned miracle. Dor ledor. Dor ledor yeshabach ma'asecha gevorotecha yagidu. Bringing palms together in front of your mouth. The sphera of Dat, Kakatuv. Kakatuv betorato v'yadata hayom. B'dechi l'rechimu liyached shem yod-hei b'vav-hei. B'yichuda shalim b'shem kol Yisrael. And bringing right hand palm up, seeing Chesed as a sphere of blue flecked with silver at your right shoulder, and Tiferet as sun yellow flecked with violet in your heart, chanting Chamesh, Chamesh Yahweh. And seeing the second Chesed in front of you and to the right. V'hashivota, and bring your right hand to your heart, bringing your right hand to your heart, and seeing the second Chesed in front to the right. Hashivota. V'hashivota el levavecha. And now seeing the Hey diagonal line of light, which connects Chesed in front of you to the right down to Malchut below your body. The kavanah of offering presence and offering and letting go. Hadar. Hadar kevod hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha. And lifting left hand, palm up, seeing Gevurah as a sphere of red flecked with gold at your left shoulder, Shesh. Shesh Yahweh. and seeing the second Gevura in front of you and to the left. The energy of strength. Kishem. Kishem hu ha Elohim. Bringing your left hand to your belly. And visualizing the Vav line connecting Gevura with Malchut below your body. Diagonal line in front of you on the left. The letter Vav, accepting what comes, transcending reactivity. Ve'ezuz. Ve'ezuz norotecha yomeru gedulatecha saparena. And bringing right hand to your right knee. Seeing Netzach as a sphera of pink light at your right hip, chanting Sheva. Sheva ha Yahweh. And seeing the and now we're going to change the order a little bit. We're going to visualize the Zion diagonal line of light connecting Keter above with where Netzach will be in the front right, chanting Zecher. Zecher Rav Tuvecha Yabiu Vatzid Chatecha Yeranenu. And visualizing the second Netzach sphere of pink light a few feet in front of you to your right at hip level, Bashamayim. Bashamayim mima'al. And bringing left hand to left knee. Seeing Hod as a sphere of dark pink light at your left hip. Chanting Shemone. Shemone Hawaya. And visualizing the Chet diagonal line connecting Keter above your head with the place of Hod in front of your body to the left. Hovering presence, Chanun. Chanun verachum Adonai erech apayim ugadal chesed. And seeing that second Hod in front of you to the left as a sphere of dark pink. Ve'al. Ve'al ha'aretz mitachat ein od. And bringing, moment. Okay, I'll have to move it. That doesn't all fit. Bringing both hands to your together in your lap, and seeing the sphera of Yesod in your lower belly, a sphere of brilliant orange light, chanting Tesha. Tesha wa Yaha. And now seeing the Tet diagonal line of light connecting Keter above your head with Yesod behind you on the left. Hidden goodness, chanting Tov. Tov Adonai lako v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. And now seeing behind you on your right the sphere of Tiferet, sun yellow flecked with violet, behind you on the right at hip level, and chanting Al Kain. And you can even turn your head a little bit towards the right, as if you were bringing your attention to the Tiferet behind you on the right. Al Kain nikaveh lecha Adonai Eloheinu lirot mehera betiferet uzecha. And then turn your head to the left to see Yesod as a sphere of orange light a few feet behind you on your left. L'takein. Letaken olam. And finally, Malchut, bringing your attention back to the two spheres of Malchut, one right below your body and one a few feet below your body. Seeing them as sky blue with earth colors, Eser. Eser Wahaya. And visualizing the final letter line, the Yud line, which connects Chochmah behind you on the right, diagonally coming down to Malchut below your body, seeing that letter Yud, and also seeing the Yud in your head. So seeing it in the line on the right and also in your head. Simple presence in action, Yoducha. Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha yivarchucha. Once again, bringing palms together, seeing the third Malchut at your mouth, B'malchut. B'malchut Shaddai. Kissing your fingers, relaxing your hands, taking a moment to see all 10 spherot around your body, feeling the energies within your body. And chanting Atahu Atyahi. Atahu 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 Atyahi 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 Atahu 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 Atyahi 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 Atahu. Resting the mind in the tefillah. And let's just sit together for just about 2 minutes in silence. And closing meditation, bringing right hand to your heart. Chesed to Tiferet, offering awareness. The offering of the letter Hey in your chest with Lecha, deep breath in. Lecha. And bringing your left hand to your belly, the Gavura and strength of all of the organs and systems, supporting your life at this moment, awareness flowing down into your organs, spreading out from there into all of your limbs, face and facial muscles, bringing a smile to your lips, feeling the flow of your breathing, and anchoring with Na'ase, deep breath in, Na'ase. And bringing right hand to your forehead, awareness shining out into space. The oneness of all experience, rising in the one field of consciousness that you are. Venishma, deep breath in. Venishma. Using your finger. Amen. May all of the words and forms and visualizations that we began learning tonight become part of you. May they be seeds that grow and bear fruit. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'yakol Yisrael, v'yakol yoshvei teva, v'yimru amen. All right. Wonderful. So we're a little bit over time for the official ending, but as you know, I go over the official ending anyway to spend some time and see if anybody has any questions or insights or anything that you'd like to say. I'll stay on for another 20 minutes or so, and we can have some dialogue.
I just wanted to share that when we started doing this practice, I felt like my brain got tired because it wasn't used to doing this. And I was also having trouble remembering when I go to the refrigerator what I was going for or whatever it was. And now my brain doesn't get tired. It's really hungry to grab the new material. And Baruch Hashem, I think I'm doing better being able to track why I went to the fridge or whatever it is. I think it's really good dementia prevention, this practice. Really good.
Yeah, there are definitely very practical benefits to doing this kind of thing. You know how they have these apps now where you strengthen your brain, you do brain exercises. Well, this is that for sure. And as I've mentioned several times, there's also the effect of working your brain to really focus and accomplish certain things with your mind, and then the letting go of all thought, the dissolving of Bina into Chokhmah, which we only did for 2 minutes today. And of course, in real life, when you practice, the silent part should be nice and long. But that way you go back and forth between Chokhmah and Bina, and it's very powerful and good for the mind. Thank you for testifying. Good. Okay, how about Susan?
Hello, everyone. First of all, just a technical thing that after all this while, talk about going to the fridge and not finding things. I finally found how to raise my hand on the system. So for anybody who cares, in that little, where we see that there's currently 14 participants, clicking on that, you see a listing of all the participants, and lo and behold, there's a little blue hand that says raise hand. And so I share that with any of you who maybe like me didn't find that for the first half year. So
Thank
Just
you.
wanted to hear that. But I got to tell you, Brian, and Brian, you know this about me. I'm slightly dyslexic, especially with directionality.
Yeah.
And last week, as I said, that experience was so holy and so grounding, and I really felt like I had created the architecture to function within all of these beautiful traits of grace. And but today I have to say my dyslexia kicked in a little bit because all week long I've been constructing these interlocking pyramids, and my meditations have been wonderfully powerful. But today, when we started going at angles and connecting this with that over there, and I have to I mean, maybe when I sit with this for this next week before we meet again, it will start gelling. Your preliminary 3-dimensional sketch brought me some comfort. I think that's going to help me. But today there were moments where I was thinking, where are they? Where you know? So and I don't. I don't read Hebrew well. I learned it years ago during my Discovering Judaism class, but I have to think hard about the letter, and I have to think hard about the Hebrew words. So in my daily meditation using this structure, I go slowly, and I even read the translation in English of what it is that I'm doing, and it became richer.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll always sort of be at the end of the class, but I'm still having a great time. But I just wanted to share my heart's going, oh, I hope I can do this. So that's all I have to say, but thank you, everybody. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, and maybe we'll if we can talk sometime, and maybe we can come up with ways to help those visualizations. The good news is, well, there's a few good news is. One is that I bet you're not at the end of the class. I'm sure there's lots of folks this is new for everybody, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's a new stretch for the mind to do. And also the Hebrew letter visualizations, I would say don't worry about that at all right now. Get the architecture first. There's the structure of where we're pointing our mind in space, and the rest will come. And the great thing is there's plenty of time. Be'ezras Hashem. All right, thank you so much, Susan. And Neil.
Unmute. Thank you, Susan. I figured out how to raise my hand now. So this week was a lot different than last week. My heart was doing a lot of running, and I was reading Sefer Yetzirah, talking about bridle your heart. Well, I had to do a lot of bridling this week. Maybe there's just been a lot of chatter going on. But one of the things, and I'm going to bring this up in the book review, is the amazing juxtaposition between prayer book Hebrew, Torah, Tanakh, and Kabbalah. That it's so interlinked, and to realize that basically the Tanakh and the Siddur is a meditation manual.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. But I do have a question, because it brought back memory of my bar mitzvah 57 years ago. Towards the end of the service, I had to lead a responsive reading of Ashrei, and I felt very relieved because I'd already read the Haftorah and gave my speech, and this is coming to the end in the party. But the Ashrei that I read didn't start the same way as the Ashrei of the meditation. Remember, Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalelucha Sela is the first line. So is this a different Ashrei?
No, it's the same. Here, let me show it to you real quick here. Okay, so what we did, so what's the prayer that's known as the Ashrei is mostly Psalm 145.
Right.
But
Okay.
the part, yeah, that's the beginning here. That's Psalm, as you can see, it says here, Psalm 84, verse 5, and then Psalm 144, verse 15, and 145. And I'm sorry, then it goes to 145, which is the rest of it.
Got it.
So we were,
Yeah, you
we're,
started with the rest of it. Yeah.
yeah, and we'll
Okay.
put the beginning Ashrei into the practice too eventually,
Thank you.
just to honor your bar mitzvah. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha od yalucha sela. Yep. All right, let's see. Anybody? Gabrielle.
I got a little lost when you talked about this, putting the second sphera onto the first one.
Mm-hmm.
What is, I missed that. What was that?
Oh, what I mean by that is just that we're visualizing a sphera in the body, and then we're visualizing the same sphera outside the body in the structure. Did you get that, or was that confusing?
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let me put on screen again the practice, and then you know what? Let's talk later about it too, because that's something that we might have to take a little more time to, and I'm happy to help you with that. So let's
Yeah, we
look
don't
at
have
it.
to do that now. We don't have to do that now.
Let's just look at the first one just to get the idea. So as you can see, the different pieces of the practice are together in chunks. So here's the first piece, here's the second piece, here's the third piece, and those are all part of the first bigger piece, you know, of Keter and Aleph. So
Right.
first we visualize the Keter at the crown of your head, and then we visualize the second Keter a few feet above your head. So
Right.
that there's the, let me show you also over here. This,
So each has one kind of at your shoulder and then like farther apart. Is that the case?
yeah, so there's one. Do you see the image?
Yeah, I see
Okay.
that.
Yeah, so there's so like this, for example, that I'm pointing to with a cursor is Chesed.
Uh-huh.
And Chesed we're visualizing in two different places. In your body, it's at your right shoulder. But in this structure, it's in front of you to the right, because you're in the middle, you're inside this whole structure. And so we're projecting the 10 sphirot around the body in a particular way, as
Okay.
really as two interlocking pyramids, like a three-dimensional Star of David.
I see.
The black beams shouldn't, those are eventually going to look better. Instead of black beams, they should beams they should be a little more luminescent. But maybe you and I should, let's talk about it later, because if you're having trouble with that, we should go over it and make sure that's clear for you. Okay.
Okay, I feel like I just missed that concept. It's for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go over that for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
This week or something. Okay. Great.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Oh yeah, Mark.
All right. Is that picture you just shown? Is there any way you could make that available for us to download and print it out? Because I love looking at it, and it solves the problem that I shared with Susan. My brain can't hold on to all these angles and spots and names and letters, and I want to. I mean, I realize I'm a beginner, but still.
Yeah, I'll post that picture in today's lesson. So, and just to remind folks, as we do the course, I'm posting them all, and you can get to them all by just going to the Ruach Neshama portal and then go down to, just scroll down and you'll see level 3, 10, 32 paths of presence. You click on that, that'll take you to a page where it has links for each lesson. So there's only 2 up right now, but soon there'll be the 3rd one, and I'll post that image on there. And it's not perfect yet, but as it gets better and better, hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll finish it. And then it'll be really easy to visualize all this stuff for you.
Fabulous.
Cool. Ruth?
I would like to say that I was concentrating so hard, I thought I'm just kind of going through the motions. I was even writing notes during the meditation to get like, okay, this is here and this is here. And I thought I thought it was just all very mental. But then when we meditated, I felt like I was inside that. It wasn't, and it was very lofty up in here. It was neat. It was really neat. You just never know what's gonna happen or anything. So that was great. And are we visualizing the letters sort of like on the various axes? You mentioned it earlier, like where do we look for where do we visualize the letters? Because that's a long way from, say, Keter to whatever they were. I can't even remember what they were.
Yeah.
And they're not, and just so the people who are new, which is many of you, the people who are old in this class and have already learned this, it's also new and different, and it's still building new pathways for us too, or it is for me. I'll speak for myself.
No, it is for
I
sure.
didn't really know what I was doing or where those letters were supposed to be, and they were kind of different from what I'm used to. So not to bring in what they used to be, but are they sort of like halfway in between each sphere that you mentioned, that's where the letter is?
I'm going to make that more clear later. I didn't put that in now because I didn't want to put in too many different things to visualize. So that is specific for the ones that we're doing now, which is Aleph through Yud. They are mostly connected to the Sphira that they are let's see, the particular sphere. Like for example, there are 4 different Sphirot that are all connecting to Malchut. So the letters are not going to be at the Malchut end. That's the general thing. They're going to be close to the Sphira that's connecting to Malchut. So the Hey is next to the Chesed, the Vav is next to the Gevura, and then same with Zion is next to Netzach, and Chet is next to Hod, and so on. So that's the general idea. Once we get into the next section, where we're doing the bases, we're going to be doing a lot of like connecting horizontal ones. Those are visualized in the center, like equally between the 2 Sphirot. But don't worry about any of that yet. I mean, if you want to do it, Ruth and other folks who have done the practice before, since you're used to visualizing those letters, it's basically in the same places that you've already been doing it. Because just to let other folks know, we haven't been doing those pyramid paths. We just were visualizing the letters together with the Sphirot. So, and it's sort of the same thing. We still visualize them near the Sphira that they're associated with.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah. The only one that's not like that is the letter Bet, which is this. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that one's going to be, but that one is going to be like in the middle between Chesed and Netzach. But the rest of them, Aleph, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zion, Chet, Tet, and Yud are all next to the Sphira that they're associated with.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, this is a certain part of the brain that we have to use to build these inner structures. But I promise you, if you stick with this practice, it will become like speaking. Like when you talk English, you don't think about what word to use. It just comes out instantly. It's just instant flow from the mind to the words usually. And that's what it becomes. It becomes a second nature. The letters in the Sphira will just appear around you, and their associated meanings and energies will appear. But there's a period of months of learning and practicing it that it'll take to build it. And Richard.
Yes, my first time here. So, we've all picked up
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This was your first. I got confused because you were in some of the other sessions, and I think I introduced you then, but I forgot this is your first time in this session. So before, can I just ask you, were you able to do the other two classes before tonight?
No, I have been so busy in my work.
Okay, so this must have been kind of a lot.
So, we've all picked up Kabbalah books over the years, and almost all of them you pick up, you get the first few pages, you see the Sefirot,
Right.
and it never appealed to me. I always thought this is so dead and dry, but this exercise really opened it up, and
Oh, thank God.
what
Okay.
I got out of it, I could see it would be hard to learn. It will take some work to learn it.
Yeah.
Learned, I see this as a marvelous mental framework to hang your thoughts on as you're preparing to really sit in a stillness meditation. So I see it as a very mystical exposition on Sephirah. And all of a sudden, I'm going to go back and pick up some of those books and look at that again.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to stick with this. I would think that this class would be pretty hard if you didn't do the other two, but it seems like you were able to get something from it. So that's wonderful. And when you have time, if you can go back to one, it'll be easier to focus on building the structure from the bottom up. Because in the first one, we only focus on Sefirot in the body and also more on the meanings of the Sefirot, which I didn't go into too much today. I just kind of alluded to them as we went. So anyway, Baruch Hashem, everybody, this is Richard in Buffalo. And I'm so glad that you decided to join in. Welcome, welcome, Richard. Good. So let's see. All right. All right. So if nobody else has any more things to say, we can say so long for tonight. It was wonderful being with you all tonight. Gabrielle, let's connect a little later. And if anybody else is having trouble with any parts of it but didn't say so, you're welcome to connect with me later too. I'm happy to go over it with you a little bit more individually on the phone. We can just make it, or on the Zoom or something like that, so we can get the visualizations and so on. And what's next? We'll see you tomorrow morning if you can come on. All right. If you would like to unmute and say goodbye, we can bid each other farewell.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Be well.
Thanks, Brian.
So long.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.